The bulk of information in any documentary comes from interviews. Because of this, thorough preparation of your crew, your talent, and your location is crucial to getting your documentary story told.
Among all the craziness that goes into making documentaries, interviews can actually be the easiest, most informative, and fun parts to do. Of course, that's only if you start off right. So to help you get off on the right foot, we'll show you what equipment you'll need, give you some tips on how to make a room look great, what you should include in your talent releases, and how to make sure your subjects look great on screen as well. Lastly, we'll dig deeper into subject appearance by showing you how to get good subject positioning, what kinds of clothing work well for the screen, and how to overcome facial and lighting problems with makeup.
The key to any good shoot is having the right equipment. Since it's better to be safe than sorry, it's always a good idea to check your camera, audio, and lighting gear the night before the shoot to ensure it's working properly. There's nothing worse than showing up on a shoot with broken equipment. It's also a good idea to make a checklist with the equipment that you'll need for the interview. This way, you can be sure you have all the equipment before you leave your studio. Amongst your equipment, you'll want to bring a lavalier microphone to capture audio. These kinds of microphones are small enough to let the subject forget that they're even being recorded, which helps them to feel more relaxed and open when speaking in front of the camera. It's also good to consider what lights you'll be using for the shoot. Since incandescent bulbs can heat up a room rather quickly, it's a good idea to use lamps that produce less heat, such as fluorescents or LED lights. Though they're more expensive, they can stay on longer and will help your subject feel more comfortable. Lastly, since cameras are often intimidating to interview subjects, you want to back your camera off from your subject as far as your zoom lens will allow. This gives your subject more room, gives the shot a shallower depth of field, and makes your subject a bit less nervous, which can lead to better interviews.